Today in the drum department, we're going to talk all about metronomes and why we hate them, but why we can also learn to love them. Join us because the drum department starts right now.
Well, if they didn't hate metronomes,
Right?
Yeah,
Now they
will
do.
now.
Now they do.
After that symphony of
Man.
clicks.
Is that not like a nightmare to you guys?
Yeah, no, I actually,
No, you like it.
when we were talking about this title topic, we went through a couple other drummers in the studio because we're like, I actually like metronomes. I like the sound of a click track. And I know, Jared, what about you? Do you hate metronomes?
I hate the title of this lesson. Can
He
I
does.
say that?
I'm so glad you said that because I was actually going to bring that up. Now I don't have to.
I'm like, if you think this is clickbait, you should tell Kyle, okay? Because I feel like this is kind of clickbait in that I don't hate metronomes.
Yeah, you do.
Do you hate?
I don't hate
Do I?
metronomes. No, I don't.
Deep down, you both do.
I don't know.
Oh, this is what I want to dive into because there are things I don't like about them.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know enough students in Drumeo, they don't like metronomes
Right.
either. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't
you.
like them. Brandon.
It depends on the pitch of the metronome.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why you can like them or not like them. A lot of beginners don't like them because they don't like something that's that static, perfect in time, and they're afraid, they're scared that their time's no good. So their time isn't up to task. So it can be a very daunting thing. But there's a lot of things about metronomes that are annoying, or I would say more just like not inspiring. And that in itself makes you go, oh, we're playing a gig, I gotta play a click, and you're like, on one hand, that's great. On the other hand, you're kind of like, oh, okay. So, we're going to talk about that. So, first off, the metronome itself. Why does it exist? Well, back in the day before we had metronomes, like in the 1700s, orchestras and symphonies would play, and they all used like words to describe the tempo. Allegro, andante, okay? Largo, Dave.
How Kyle speaks at home.
So, yeah, exactly. Andante. Yes, and my kid does the same thing whether it's in Italian or English. Yes. Nothing. Anyways, but that's not about me. So in 1815, the metronome was invented by a gentleman named Johann, Nepomuk Mazel. Invented in 1815, so they could standardize tempo. So, and the idea was everybody should have a metronome on their piano. And this metronome right here is from 1875. Okay, it's not. It's probably from 1995. But it uses the same principle as that original design. It works like a grandfather clock. It's got a pendulum in it, and it swings back and forth. And it goes like that. Now, this one's a little worse for wear, so that's about as far as she goes these days. But this is where it all started for piano players. They could get, okay, this is what that speed even says on here. Allegro is this tempo range. So drummers, we had to sort of adapt something like this too. So we could try using this, but it doesn't work with a drum kit. You can't do it. Can't hear it, right? So fortunately, over the years, we got into electronic metronomes and digital metronomes. So we have all the tempos now. We have everything we could possibly want. This Dr. Beat DB90 has 1,000 features that it's really, really cool. But I mean, a lot of folks usually start with something like this these days. About a $30, just a little pocket metronome, right? But the thing is, they make these so that they sound bright, I would say, but they're also hard to listen to, guys.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sharp. And like over 10 minutes? Come on,
Yeah.
right? Now, it's valuable, for sure, but that's not inspiring to listen to, right? What was your first metronome, Dave? Do you remember?
It was something, no, it was a
Dave has
Tama.
never played with metronome.
Oh, that explains so much.
It was the old Tama rhythm watch. You remember those
Yeah,
things?
sure.
Exactly. I was
And
going
the
to mention that.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones that I
Remember
had.
the dials on top?
Yeah,
Where
this
you could,
yellow
like,
stop and start button or whatever, orange-ish kind of.
yeah, and then you could add 16th note subdivision.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, my mind was blown. I'm like, I can make it weighted on the quarter notes and
then
fill
have
it in the
triplets or
subdivision,
something, yeah.
and then turn it all to the right.
Yeah.
Just sounds
Just
like,
sounds like a
when
party.
when you just started.
Sound like Thomas Lang does.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You can turn them
But
all
on purpose.
all the subdivisions, but on purpose.
We have one of those around here. I'm sure.
No, probably.
Yeah.
What was your first metronome?
At the time rhythm
okay.
watch. Yeah.
Oh, you had the same one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys share the same metronome?
No, Dave
Probably
never.
did from birth.
To the date, Dave has never played with a metronome.
Okay, sure. Brandon, what was your first metronome?
I mean, I remember growing up doing piano lessons and having one of those.
Like an actual
Yeah, the
weighted one.
wooden one. And then as you would go through the song, it would like go slightly out of time.
Oh yeah.
And then when I started playing drums, I just had like, it was a digital, probably like a $30 or $40 one.
Yeah.
Didn't sound as bad as the Korg one you have on the end, but it was still
No
pretty
offense,
bad.
Korg. It's not your fault. I could have
No.
chosen one
Well,
of
no, it
many.
is their fault. They made it.
It is. But like I will say this. This is the example we're using
You're not
today for
wrong.
what a $30 metronome sounds like. Because they all sound like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the first smaller pocket digital metronomes came out, they weren't even stereo. So when you plugged in, it came with a little earpiece, looked like a hearing aid. And you'd put that in and just go, "Puck, puck, puck." It was so like obnoxious sounding. It wasn't even like a full-size headphone jack. It was a little bit smaller. So it was like, it felt like it was more like a physical aid than it was a metronome or like a piece of medical equipment.
Well, what I like about even this group here is we all have a slightly different opinion of it. And I guess that's what we're doing on the show is talking about those conversations that drummers have in the drum departments, I guess. And I've definitely talked to
I
other
love how
drummers
you always
about,
like to call back to the title of the show. I love it.
yeah.
It's great.
Well, I mean, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. We put those conversations to the test. And I've definitely talked about, well, just not even the click sound, but also the horror stories I've had. Because I used to play a lot with tracks. So
Sure.
you have to have a click track when you're on stage. Believe it or not, Jared, I played with a metronome.
I don't know about
and there's horror stories around there. So
We'll see.
I get it. I dig it. I hope it's not clickbait. I get it. I get the idea.
Well, I mean,
Clickbait, get it?
I don't
This
hate-
is a metronome lesson about clickbait.
I don't hate metronomes.
Yeah, I know.
so-
I know. Yeah.
I mean, don't they help us stay in time? They're
Sure.
meant to help.
That's true. And I'll say for that aspect, absolutely. It's not so much the idea of metronome is bad. It's though there is a whole new world of people saying that it is. I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's a super valuable tool to help us understand how to feel and measure time. Absolutely. It's great for that. And the advances we've seen from this to this, for example, we have such a great variance to this where we have all those subdivisions built in. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And it makes it much easier for us to understand those things for sure. But there is, very famous musicians like, and they're mostly bass players. I don't know why. Jeff Berlin says, throw away your metronome and your tuner. He really means that. But the point in that is you have to learn how to have good time. But then it's a chicken versus the egg situation.
Yeah.
If you don't have this, how do you know if you have good time?
I think he'll correct me if he's wrong, if he's even watching, but Pat Petrillo, I don't think likes metronomes. I've
There you go.
seen a post from him before saying drummers should play to music. You should practice to music as opposed to a metronome because music is what you're actually going to have to play along with.
I could see too, though, if you grew up around a lot of really good musicians and you've been playing with great bass players your whole life, I mean, in a sense, that could almost act as your metronome
Sure.
subconsciously, even though you're not used to the click track. You might have a bass player who's so locked in that you just learn how to have good time.
Yeah. Playing records too, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great example of what good time is, even though the records might not be in great time.
Yeah.
It's great feel, right?
It
Yeah,
forces you
that's
to
it.
listen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways with that. And a metronome, the problem with the metronome is, and I'll say the same thing again, it's this. It's just sterile, right? It's just uninspiring. Like if you're playing to that, Jared, here, I'm going to give this to you here. I have this cool setup, so you can hear this in your ears now. Isn't that great? So just play a little bit of drums along with this. Very good.
Try hard.
30-day drummer's working for him. Okay.
I'm doing it.
All right.
I played along to it.
I feel like you were inspired to play that based on the sound you're hearing.
I'm so
Oh
inspired.
my
every time I hear
goodness,
that.
that's funny. Okay, I want to. This is the problem with technology these days. So this is one that came up. I got this app recently. It's called the Iona Voice Metronome. In case you're curious, if you really, maybe you'll dig this. I don't know. This one, hang on, is playing. There it is. I don't know why you would need this.
So awful.
Well, is that actual metronome you can download with dogs in it?
Yeah. There's no dogs in it, Dave, but
No, there's
we
no
actually
literal dogs
we
inside
sampled your
phone.
own dog.
just little dogs.
Guinness.
running
There's
around.
no way that's Guinness.
Because that's fun, but it's silly.
Very inspiring.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to the challenge part of this today. You just keep doing what you're doing there, Jared. It's all good.
That
Just
is-
keep setting it up, buddy.
That is arguably more annoying than the click.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my point. I
Yeah.
mean, I like the idea of the smaller dog being the down feet, the bigger dog's taking control of the rest, but it's like,
And how'd they train the dog to bark in time like that?
well, and when you speed it up, they just start running in faster circles. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. But I tell you. Okay, here's my least favorite click in the world. I think we've all used this one, and anybody out there, part of this is we're talking about metronomes, but the progression for that for drummers, of course, is what we call a click track, right? And that is when we're playing in the studio, because that's almost a given these days. In most music we record, we want to record with the click. But I've got a bunch of examples we're going to talk about today. But this is, after doing some research, this is the least liked sound and probably one of the more common ones that studios use. So, Jared, you'll recognize this one right away, I'm sure.
Oh, is it the Pro Tools sound?
Or the Logic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot to plug it in. Hold on. There's too much math going on,
Yeah,
guys.
this
I
one's
had this
out.
great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What did I do? There it is. See? Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
This is the content.
That's what
that
you're paying
comes-
for, folks.
Everyone's like,
Yeah. Okay.
You know what really makes me happy is the support I get from the guys.
No, Jared here.
Moral
guys.
support.
There you go. Oh, gosh.
so this metronome sound, J.R. Robinson,
Yes.
he would only play to this one or the digital sound in Pro Tools because that was the one that was most perfect when it comes
Okay.
to something technologically.
You know,
about
it's funny you say that because I did some research on clicks. He now has two specific sounds that he makes available. J.R.'s got a thing about, the J.R. Robinson, this and
Yeah.
that, right? So there are two J.R. Robinson official click sounds.
Yeah.
And one is a darker cowbell, and one is, I would say, a kinder version of this.
Do you think there's any truth to that though? That makes you
Okay, I'll say this. Okay, here it is. Okay, so that is like a super flat, kind of a pop, right?
Yeah.
So it's very clear where it sits. It's got low end, it's got high end, and it's just going to stick through whatever it is. There's no decay on it. So I get that would be very consistent, and it's intentionally bland so that it's empirically perfect, I would say.
I feel like it would sit in the mix nicely, so you'd almost not hear it. You'd only hear it
Agreed.
if you were off.
Okay, play to it for a second. Just see what happens in your head. Now, the thing too here is that's important to note is the other reason this sounds terribly sterile is it doesn't have any accenting. It doesn't indicate anything. This could be in 9/8. It could be 4/4. It could be 11/10, 29/10. Here we go.
Okay.
Seems natural to you, right?
Yeah.
Just not very inspiring, not very exciting, right?
Is that what its purpose of it's for? What's the purpose of a metronome?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Hey, Tyson's there. Sorry. Do we have a Tama rhythm watch?
Small
Maybe.
aside from Jared to Tyson.
Sorry. What did you say?
I don't remember. Okay, no. So it's not inspiring. Like you said, it's not supposed to be inspiring.
Yeah. It's
Right?
not. That's not the purpose.
Yeah, but I'll say this. A click that is more in tune to the style or the feel that you're going to play is going to help you. It's more musical. It gives you more context to play to. It's not just there as like a guidepost and like this unerring thing, right? I think there's more area for balance with that.
But if you're saying that, then you're going to put in like a loop. But a loop, which I've had engineers or producers put in before instead of a metronome. But what ends up happening is like that inevitably influences the part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's
Why
not
is that bad?
necessarily what you, well, it's because that's not necessarily what you always want. The reason the metronome is good is because it's a completely blank slate. It's uninspiring. It's not supposed to do anything. It's just like a tool. It's like a hammer. It's not the house.
Okay.
I mean, my problem with that click sound is it does just get buried in whatever else
Yep.
you're hearing. I know some people want to feel it more than hear it, but I would way rather have just something right in your face that you can actually hear over top of anything else.
Right. Okay.
that one to me just gets lost.
I like that we have a healthy debate here with this. A couple of you are wrong. Other than that, though, this is really, really
Dave
solid.
is always right though. So
Yeah.
Well, he's a master at debate.
I can debate. I can
And
debate.
I totally agree with what you're saying when it comes to that precise click. And I just think there can be. We have so much technology these days. There's a lot more we can do with the click to be, I think, a little bit more kind. So I want to go over a couple things furthering this. So that's a pretty bland sounding click, right?
Yeah.
We can agree with that. It does the job, right?
Yeah.
It gets the gig done. Okay, so what I've got now are some scenarios that are true scenarios that have existed, have happened to people. They're kind of, I don't want to say they're horror stories, but they're certainly nerve-wracking situations that have been caused by different types of click tracks, exactly on this conversation. So I'm not going to tell you what's wrong with them.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to tell me what's wrong with them.
Okay.
They're pretty obvious, I think, in some cases. Dave
Like
won't know.
dropping
But,
it. No, Dave
I
won't know.
won't know.
There's no way.
getting roasted over there.
What's the point of me
Okay.
being even on this show?
Here's the first one.
That's a great point.
That's the only smart thing you said, Dave.
Oh, dear.
This will be my last drum
I
department.
was just going to
episode.
say, feel free to ignore the invite next time. All right, so here's a click. This is literally an example I pulled from a session I was on once. That's all I'm going to say. Here we go. So you need to play to this and then tell me what you think about it, okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Can I turn the drums off in my ears?
Here we go.
Because it's like it's really hard to hear the metronome.
Oh, so you hate the metronome is what you're saying.
Ah,
See what we're getting at here?
I like it.
I have to tweak the level. Okay, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Here we go. So this is a click that came off of a track that I had to play to. And I will tell you the truth, when I played to it the first 2 or 3 times, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then when I asked the engineer what happened.
Don't say anything else.
Not
I wanna
gonna.
hear it. Yeah, let's hear it.
Feel weird to you at all?
It felt like the beats were maybe too close together at certain points,
That's exactly what
especially
happened.
earlier on.
Very good.
Yeah.
Beats 2 and 4 are slightly ahead.
Why?
I did a session once.
How?
It's horrible.
This is no joke.
That's not blaming the metronome.
I was
that's the
working with an engineer. How shall I say this? Was unable to produce a electronic click for the session. He didn't want to tell me. So what he did is he took one of these and recorded it with a microphone.
And sampled
But it was
Oh,
sitting
no.
on an angle. It wasn't on enough of an angle to go, "Gah, gah, 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 gah." It was going, "Gah, gah, 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 gah." And I was like,
my.
the first
Brutal.
couple of times, I'm like, what is wrong with me? And then I listened back. I said, can you play it back? So you had to listen to it. And here's everybody in the audience. This is what it sounds like.
It's like instant anxiety.
Yeah.
And if you want to know by how much, it's like 15 milliseconds 2 and 4 are pushed slightly forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was like, whoa, dude. So what we ended up doing was I literally tried to ignore everything after 1, and I would just come back to 1. So
You
I was,
did the whole session like that?
yeah, I didn't have time to
You
change it.
think your beat would have been more like that, drunk drum?
I wish it would have been. Oh yeah.
You can do that, can't you?
A little bit.
The old Ruben
Not that
Spiker.
great.
Yeah, that's the Ruben Spiker. Yeah, exactly.
Depends how
And-
much I've drank. Then I can do
Okay,
that.
let's try another one. So this is not mine. This is one that a colleague sent to me. Says try this one for size. So this is a click track that he had to play to, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
So here we go.
Oh, I can't hear it now.
Oh, it disappeared.
We should do an episode on everything drummers hate about engineers.
No kidding.
You guys.
Yeah, there's three of them. They're going. Sorry, wait, I got it. Here we go.
They're trying to turn the drums off.
very good.
Yeah,
You clearly trusted your own instincts on that.
I think you surprised everyone.
Oh, I heard the clave off the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a guy was doing a session. He sent me this. And he says, he's like, the producer felt it'd be great to have a click that did something a little bit more interesting.
Great.
It's
So
completely random.
it's completely random. So what the artist did was they just kind of they tracked the guitar and the vocal, and then he just grabbed a cowbell and played along with it, whatever he felt was cool.
Serious?
And that's what they ended up playing to. And he goes, I can't play to this.
Wow.
And exactly, he's like, I can play to it, but I don't have. It's like a moving target.
Yeah, where's the one?
Like, what problem were they trying to solve?
I think they were, well, exactly like you said,
Yeah.
they didn't want a sterile click. They wanted something that was going to give them more motion, but the drummer's like, but too much.
There's no
Yeah.
time.
And it is perfectly in time. I did grade it. It's perfectly in time.
Yeah.
But it's like,
That's crazy.
yeah. Yeah, this is what happens, folks, when you use the tools too far. All right, okay, one more. This is my favorite. Okay, here we go. You might even recognize the tune. So here we go. Okay.
Okay, what?
Yeah, what was that?
So
That was
That
legit.
stressed me out.
that happened to me live on a gig in front of a huge audience. Band had a very inexpensive laptop to run tracks because, like, oh, the old laptop will do all the stuff, right? So they just did. It kept getting, they get a new laptop, they'd use the old one for the tracks. So we're playing a tune. It was a big deal too, as an original artist. And so we're playing, and that starts happening, and I'm like,
Oh no.
am I losing my mind? I'm thinking, is the adrenaline kicking in, and I just don't know what's. And then I'm like, am I actually losing my mind? Like, this feels like it's, and it was doing exactly that. It would speed up and slow down, different rates, different amounts of time. That one is actually, we made it a little bit easier. It actually snaps back on the bar line. So what had happened was, old laptop, they forgot to turn off the virus software. So it started doing a deep scan while we're playing.
way.
And you'd think the computer would just crash or stop. No, it literally just, it slowed the clock down. And the computer's like, oh, I got it. We'll just go a little slower for a second, fellas. And after the show, if you can imagine,
Jeez.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I had no idea what had happened. And the artist's like, oh, yeah, that happened once when I was working on it. I guess it's maybe the antivirus software kicked in. We go look, sure enough, it was doing a scan after we finished. Stressful. Great job, though.
brutal.
I like how you sort of ignored it at the end, like, screw it. I'm just going to go.
I'm gonna play my time.
This is what happens when click tracks attack everybody.
Yeah.
So
Now, these are funny examples, but they do happen. And, it's just kind of a fun illustration of what happens with clicks. And another reason why you might be a little bit nervous or scared about them, because the machine, right?
well, what I was gonna suggest is, like, Brandon, we'll start with you. What are the things that you actually hate, or is there anything about metronomes or stories that you've had similar to what Kyle just shared?
For me, like the biggest one is pitch. Like if the pitch of the click is too low in relation to like what you're playing on. If like you play your kick drum and the sound of the click is low pitched enough that it's almost like merging with that drum.
Burying it or something.
Yeah, it gets buried. For me, like that's the biggest one. In general, I like clicks with no accents. So you just have like more references if you want to set it to 8 notes or anything like that. But yeah, pitch for me is the one thing that's like a total deal breaker.
That's the biggest frustration that you have. Is,
Yeah.
And you aren't using a machine now. You're probably using an app on your phone.
Yeah. So I've used an app called Metronomes
Okay.
for probably like 7 years or so. And then anything to do with odd time or anything like that, I'll use Synced,
Oh, yeah.
which I think Aaron Edgar uses as well. It's
Yeah.
like a drum machine programming app.
Yeah.
And you can do like 16th note meters and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. I was looking for one like that.
Yeah. So between those two, I have
Synced.
both of those have like a really high pitched click that you can change, but there's something in there that will like cut above anything else. So
It's like spelled funny too, right?
yeah, like SYNKD.
KT, I think. Yeah.
Oh. like a psychology / metronome app.
Yeah. Messes with your
I
brain.
like that. That's what I need.
Something like that.
That's what you need. Okay, Jerry, what about you? If there's something you actually hate about metronomes.
I'll say there's maybe 2 things. One is I once did a session with someone and I was playing, and I thought I was playing fine, but he really wanted me to play to a 16th note click.
Okay.
And the tempo was like 120 or something. So it was the most annoying session. All I heard was
Oh, yeah.
and I later found out he wanted it because he wanted to
grid it all.
quantize and everything. And so going into my other point is I kind of wish we would do more music without the metronome at all.
Yeah.
And just let the time happen naturally. And yes, it will speed up and slow down, but like I guess
Does it matter though all the time?
it doesn't matter, but I think human ears generally prefer music where it's perfect, and that's what they've learned, and so everything's now to a click. But if you listen to a lot of those old recordings, you'll hear the song speeding up,
Oh, absolutely.
and it kind of sounds like, okay, yeah, the chorus should be a little bit faster and the verse should be a little bit slower, so they're just not doing that naturally.
Actually, on that, so I had a student once, and we were talking about John Bonham and Led Zeppelin, and I'm like, just go check out these like 5 recordings. Stairway to Heaven was one of them.
Sure.
And when you get to the guitar solo at the end, they just like ramp up like
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
And the live version's even crazier.
Yeah. And he's like, who is this band? Like, he was a young kid. And it's like, they're not even playing in time. Like, this isn't even good.
So it was almost like a negative thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've trained. If you're off time, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But when you
that's-
listen in context of
Yeah.
the music, it's like, there's just momentum and tension building. And
Well, it's like also like new music now to build tension and suspense. You don't have time flexible to work with. You're quantizing everything. So you
Yeah,
use
it's true.
dynamics. You bring in, you take out instruments. Back in the day, you could build tension by dragging it a little bit and then ramping up a bit. It's now a lost variable to
Yeah.
songwriting, right?
Yeah, they'll do double time or cut time or things.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
that's just
That's a great point that you make about the over subdivision metronome. That's a
Yeah.
classic for sure.
Yeah,
It's stressful.
it is stressful.
Yeah, but I'm not even. Yeah, but that's just doubling, or
Yeah.
Within the same common denominator.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
for sure.
I'm talking about like if you bump it up by 2.5 BPM for the chorus, sometimes that brings something to it. And you see these other drummers who. That's what their specialty is. Like they can push and they can pull.
Yeah.
They might be in time every 4 bars. They might be hitting the 1 in that phrase, but in between those bars, they might be dragging by a half millisecond or whatever. And that's what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you practice that with the click? I mean, you got to know the rules before you can break them, maybe. But
I don't know. David Garibaldi, I'll use that same quote all the time because he talks about, playing ahead of the beat or behind the beat. He's like, well, the band has collective time.
Right.
The band feels time together as a unit. And Tower Power is a great example. I mean, what a guy to say that, first of all. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
Also, that band has this very special collective time. And you're like, yeah, you're totally right. If you gridded Tower Power, it wouldn't sound any good at all.
No.
You lose all that magic. We're talking about songs that have like definite tempo adjustments. There's the band Asia. Carl Palmer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
The song In the Heat of the Moment. The verse, the chorus, it just goes straight up. And it's like, and they kind of bring it back down and kind of go straight up again. It's like every time Carl Palmer kicks into the groove, it's like, "Wah!" And it's like, it's jarring how much it moves. It's like 15 BPM. It's not like 4.
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking. Chad Smith's coming, and we were asking him like, how many songs do you play with click? And he said there's only 4 songs in that band where they play with click tracks. It's like on stage, a band like that,
But they want to jam it out.
They want to jam
Yeah.
it out. They want to have that flexibility. Now, I will say, like, I know we're talking about everything drummers hate about metronomes, but there's got to be drummers out there. Like me, I love the metronome. It became like an extension of me. Like I practice on the pad all the time. So I'd always have the click track going. I would even have it over top of like Netflix, or I'd watch a lot of hockey. So I just have the metronome on subconsciously so I can just keep time and push myself. And it became that thing. I loved calculating time between 2 audio sources. That was a nerdy thing I did. I had a metronome on my phone. I had the Tam Rhythm Watch. So I actually really enjoyed it. And I think a lot of other musicians, they think drummers like metronomes because it's like married with time, right? But the one thing I do say I hate about metronomes is when you're in a band and everyone in the band wants you to have a metronome, but they don't want one.
oh, it's the worst.
They're just like, no. You're the drummer. You keep time. So here I am now, and I'm trying to keeping everyone together while also keeping time to the metronome.
sure.
But
I
didn't
like
get
that.
But then
I prefer that.
You
But
prefer
then
that?
you end up in a section where there's no drums.
You just tap the hi-hat.
Okay, but then you're
Hey, can you not play hi-hat there? I just want to like clean.
Well, then you
Wow.
It sounds like
then
you're
turn
keeping
it
time.
off and turn it back on a beat before
That's
you're supposed
true,
to
yeah.
come in.
But I think if you want to get in that creative moment with a band, you have to all share that responsibility because I'm keeping time. I'm not pushing and trying different things. And then they're done with the song. It's like, that was great, guys. I love what you did on the bass there. And Dave, you kept great time. Well, that's not my only job, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do hate. And that's not to do with the Metronome's fault. Sorry, Corey. It's not this one is actually not Corey's fault. It's those crappy guitar players and singers and bass players who don't think it's their responsibility to play in time. Okay, I
Let's
said it.
go.
Okay, I said it.
Okay, my gripe is actually very much related to yours, Dave.
Sorry, Matt and Andy.
That's funny. That's funny.
Well played.
Yes. So I totally agree with part of that in that when you're playing to tracks, drummers have a unique burden because this is very common in pop music. Well, actually, tons and tons of live shows these days. You're playing to a click, whether you're playing to tracks or just a click, because the artist wants the tempo is consistent, or maybe it's video cues, lighting cues, all those things these days. But what it does, if the drummer is the only person playing to that, the drummer is the only person that has to have their brain split in two places because you're helping the band react in live time with the audience, right? Because the audience might be really into it that night, and you cannot take off. You have to make sure is still master is still in
I know.
charge,
Yeah.
and you have to separate your focus. No matter how hard you try, you do have to be mindful that is there in the background. Whether you've got great time or not, you still have to pay attention to that. So you're not able to 100% take yourself into the moment and just play. You cannot do that. And like you said earlier, I think about tracking something without a click, right? I did a session recently where we're doing a relatively mellow tune. We did like 4 takes with click, and then the producer's like, you know what? Let's try one clean and see what happens. Which one do you think we chose?
Yeah.
No question. Yeah, it was the one with the click. No, it was the other one. And it was you go back in the control room and you're like, it's such a subtle difference.
Yeah.
Like it's almost, I would argue for most of the people, and I'm not saying this to slag anybody, it's just, I don't think we would be able to say it sped up or slowed down. It wasn't even that. It felt better. It just, we let stuff breathe. We let stuff move. And we weren't thinking about it.
What I think a lot of people should try is, and this is the way we kind of did it in the old days, when I was, my first session ever, I had never played to click. So I go into that session like, you're gonna be doing all this to click. And I'm like, I've never done that. So it ended up working out fine. But what I liked about that, it was like, we first rehearsed the songs, we first built the parts, and then we tracked it to click. So it was all preset. It was all scripted, as opposed to the click kind of being your teleprompter and kind of guiding you. And guiding you creatively as well. So it's like how you structure the sessions and how you integrate click into the performance, I think has a creative impact. So it's something you should consider.
Okay, so we've talked about why we don't like metronomes. I want to share 2 things that I like about metronomes that I think we all can probably learn from, which I think are really cool. Everybody here has seen Chris Coleman play. Chris calls this metronome Sissy. Everyone know why? Because it reminds him of his sister.
Okay.
Because
that could
he
have gone
uses
a number of different ways.
He uses this metronome. I know. Chris, he wouldn't be like that.
Chris is great. I love Chris.
So Chris
2, 3, 4.
uses this
1, 2,
in his
3,
clinics all the
4.
time.
1,
He
2,
calls it his
3,
sister, right?
4. 1.
Now, it's kind of a silly clipped kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, but I love playing to this because it's a little round, so I can play around with it. But more importantly, it's telling me where I am in the bar. So if I'm doing like metric modulation stuff, I'm so free to do it because it's telling me where I am.
Oh, that's cool.
So Jared,
Should play to this, yeah.
no, you don't have to. Just do whatever feels natural. man.
Modulate a little bit for once.
1, 2, 3,
just your
4.
sister.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Very nice, and that's but it's kind of it's fun to do that. Like I have a Yamaha E8010. It's got the same feature on it.
Oh, does it?
I practice to it all the time because it's super liberating. You can have a lot of fun with that. Okay, I got one more. This is going to go completely against what Jared said. I don't care. So
Let's go.
okay. So
This
you were,
whole lesson was completely. I told you to change the title, and you said no.
I did, and thank you for A, showing up today, and B,
I thought about it, but I looked at the
making
show.
sure making sure my security code still worked for the guy this morning.
He's still here.
Please help this lesson get 100,000 views so we can prove Jared
Yes, it needs to go to 100,000 in 2 days.
That's the goal. It's
so,
got to get 100,000.
So you were talking about how a loop could adversely influence you.
Yeah.
I learned this trick from a couple of great session drummers because they were playing to a really slow tune, and I was like, "Wow, that feels so good." And I listened to what they were listening to, and I'm like, "Oh, you're not using a click." He goes, "No way, man." He's like, "When you're playing a tune like this, you want a little more feel to it." He says, "If they give you a loop or something that's a little bit more in the style that you're playing to, it makes it so much easier to lock in."
Right.
So here is just a loop that I grabbed. I thought that would be very influential for the style it would ask you to play. So check this out. But just that kind of like the zone it puts you in, because I think it's more musical when you're playing to something. Here we go. 1 sec. Nice. You know what I love about that is just overall changes the way you're approaching the drum set.
It does.
Play mellower, you kind of get a little groovier, a little more mano cache, happening there. I don't know, is that how you pronounce it? Is it mano cache? I have no idea.
Probably
Brandon?
not that.
Your guess is as good as mine.
MK. Yeah,
MK.
but,
Yeah.
I was watching a bunch of his stuff this weekend because he's going to be on tour with Peter Gabriel.
That's right.
And I was like, man, that guy,
So good.
such a different approach to the drum set. All right. Very cool. I think we can put that to bed. Dave's got something he wants to say.
Before we do put this to bed, can we do something, like I want to know for those watching on YouTube, maybe not live, we can ask them live, but in the comments, can we pin 2 comments? One of them One of them being I love metronomes, or I enjoy using metronomes. One of them being I don't.
You can just pin one comment.
Okay, darn, shoot. Yeah, you can't see dislikes. I was trying to find a way where you can see, like, tell us in the comments below, like.
Well, you can do a poll while we're live, but you can't do that after the fact.
No.
But I mean, well, you could. Anyone who wants to leave a comment after, just leave a comment, and we'll pin our favorite metronome story.
For sure.
And then you can thumbs up or thumbs down it, because I'm generally curious, because there's a generation, or I shouldn't say even a generation, there's a group of drummers out there that generally love them. I know I'm one of them. I love just listening to, it's almost like I can go to sleep with it, right? And then there's others that hate it because it's like the metronome tells me when I'm off, or it's very hard to play to. I'm frustrated. I see some people in the chat, one of them said, I've never even played with one. Should I download one? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't see an instructor out there that would say no, but I understand the frustrations of both. So I'm just generally curious. Do you guys like metronomes or not?
See, if you're asking, should I play in time? The answer is yes. If the answer is, should I play at the metronome? The answer is maybe, but you don't need to.
No, you don't. No, you're right.
You could use a loop.
Yeah.
Which is more musical or more of like a in between a metronome.
You could argue,
song.
I guess the question is, do you use a timekeeping device to help you?
Yeah.
Well, and also, like, in the era of today where drum machines are used in most pop songs, like we just did an article about the top 100, there's only like 3 songs with real drums in there or something along those lines. So it's almost like drummers now are wanting to sound less metronomic and less perfect.
Absolutely
time.
true. Yeah.
You know, you see these drummers like Chris Daddy Dave, who's got great timing, but he doesn't showcase that. He drags it and pushes it, but it all makes sense to the style he's playing.
Dyra Jones.
Dyra Jones is another one, right? Yeah. Okay.
So much to talk about there. All right, okay, time to get on to something else. We're going to do blast beats. We're going to do it with Brandon today.
Nice.
Let's go.
Normally we do it with one of our special guests. You're certainly a special guest. I think a lot of folks. Have you guys seen Brandon's latest release?
Yes.
183 Foo Fighters songs, so in chronological order.
Yes.
I know that you're not a boastful type, but I do have to say this because I think it is absolutely amazing. Not only did you have to figure out the structure for 183 songs, you had to then learn and memorize all the parts. The video that we shot, you did it, I think, 2.5 times. But the video that we were using is the very first take and one of the angles is completely uninterrupted. So they see that you are actually 100% for real doing all of that at once.
So
real.
cool.
And the fact that you nailed it in the first take,
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, that was so
Thank
impressive.
goodness.
And was there a
So
click to that track?
Only in some of the spaces, but
See?
no
What-
cues.
Was there a cue like saying
I don't
this
even know what
song
I'm
is
saying.
next?
No.
Really?
These are
all-
metronomes, guys.
How did you know? Do you have a list?
Like when I was learning it, I had like sheet music and I'd listen to it like 3 times a day.
No, but did you have a list of like the next song? You just memorized
memorized.
it.
183 songs. The order of that you memorized.
Yes.
You can't even get drummers to learn 40
pain and
rudiments.
suffering for the
Let alone
greater good.
183 songs.
all right,
I like
let's
that.
do blast
I
beats.
like that.
Nuts.
Let's
Yeah.
learn about Brandon, everybody.
let's do it.
Let's put that clock up if you would,
Should he
guys.
sit
please.
there?
No, it's good.
You
We
like
got
it?
2 camera angles.
this
It's going to
is
work
my
just
chair.
fine. I believe in it. There it is. Okay, you ready, guys? I would count you down.
Perfect.
Before
Perfect placement. Let's keep that there the whole time.
And you
Final
wanted to
episode.
switch chairs? Hey, Brandon, let's switch chairs, actually.
I'm good.
I
That's
just
fine.
thought-
This is going to work just fine. If you answer all 20 questions in a minute,
Yeah.
we're going to give away a prize to someone on YouTube.
What are they winning?
I'm going to give away a Drumeo comfort cover. It's a really
Is it
cool.
the one Jared's
seat cover.
sitting
It
on?
is actually, yeah. Maybe you'll give the one that Jared's actually sitting on. Is that a prize? I don't know. Okay, let's do this. All right. Bring up the clock, everybody.
Yeah, bring up the clock.
There she is. Okay, that's fair. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nylon or wood tip?
Wood tip.
Favorite place on the planet?
New York.
Heel up or heel down?
Heel up.
Who are you listening to now?
The Chili Peppers.
Coded or clear?
Coated.
Artist you want to work with?
Ooh. Oh man. Tigran Hamasyan.
Cymbals, clean or dirty?
Dirty.
Golf or tennis?
Golf.
Pedals, chain, strap, or direct drive?
Chain.
TV or movies?
Movies.
How many snare drums is too many?
50.
White wine or red wine?
Red.
Single or double pedal?
Single.
Fly or drive?
Fly.
Are concert toms still cool?
Yes.
Suit or t-shirt?
Suit.
What was harder to do, the Rush or the Foo Fighters tribute?
Foo Fighters.
Steak or seafood?
Steak.
Vinyl or streaming?
Streaming.
Best color for a drum set?
Blue.
Time to spare.
all
We could have
20?
had 2
You
more.
did all 20.
Oh, there's
Did
2
you
more?
have 22 more?
No, that was 20.
Oh,
Wow.
You nailed that. No surprise. Again,
Yes.
first try, nailed it. Good
Right
Lord.
in time.
So hold on. The Foo Fighters one was harder than the Rush
It
one?
was.
Yeah.
For
Wow.
different reasons. Like the Rush one was way harder just because of orchestration.
Sure.
It's like everything Neil plays is basically a composition,
Yes.
specific toms,
Yeah.
cymbals, and all that. But the Foo Fighters one, I mean, lots of those parts weren't like composed parts. The energy was way harder to maintain for that long because
Yeah.
half that stuff is like high energy, like punk rock essentially. Yeah, and the order of songs was way harder on
Interesting.
that one,
And more songs.
and more
A little
songs.
bit. I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's still long.
All right. So we have to give away a prize. We're going to give away
Yes.
a Drumeo comfort cover, which is a lovely seat topping cover that Jared is sitting on right now.
Shall
You want to show it off while you got it there? Yeah.
So I'll just bring it up.
It's the actual one, too?
Maybe.
So what you can do is you just basically pop it off.
Yeah.
So if you have like an old crappy throne, or it's just like too hard,
Yeah.
you just slip this slip cover over, and it's got this like special type of gel in it. Do you know what it's called?
Gel?
Moon
Gel. Well, it's
I
a
don't
special
know.
type of stuff,
Okay.
but it just makes any seat way more comfy.
Made in Italy
Made in Italy.
by the same people that make Ferraris. Not
Yeah.
the same people, they're both Italian. That's all I'm saying.
They're hand sewn.
Handsome. So I'm going to give that to Bun Davis. Bun Davis out there on
Nice.
YouTube. If you want to email me at krad@drumeo.com,
Congrats.
we're going to get
Nice.
a Drumeo comfort cover sent off to you.
It's
Congratulations.
the best stool softener
There it
you'll
is.
ever use.
I purposely didn't say it. I'm glad you did.
Come on,
And
man.
I'm also
How can you not
and I'm also disappointed. So, you know. All right. Let's get to student of the week. We have something really special. Zane is, she's in the chat, I saw her in the members area. Zane is a phenomenal young drummer. She's been playing since she was 4 years old. Her influences initially was Casey Cooper, actually.
Oh, nice.
And she came across some videos of Annika Niles. Apparently it's Niles. I have to learn how to say that correctly. Annika Niles. and Benny Greb. So big into the big push from the Germans lately, right? We've had a lot of that, which is great. She said she's also completely amazed by some of her favorite influences like Clay Ashman, Matt Halpern, Chris Coleman, Jojo Meyer. I mean, she loves them all.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe how far she's come in the time she's been playing. She's a phenomenal young drummer. Congratulations, Zine, on being Student of the Week. You guys got to see
congrats.
this video. This is unreal.
You're such a sign. I don't expect a name. You don't care. I was a witness. I can't be a part of this. Substances is hard. I fell right in my darkness. I can't wait to take this. Will I keep sisters, princess, litigate, liberate, and the standards fuck this. All out of my objects. I don't need this. Out of my prison heart. Insert irrigate, betray my God.
If that, maybe.
Jeez,
Unbelievable.
wowee.
Crazy.
Zane,
So good.
incredible.
Congrats. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me, yeah, like a young Seth Thauer, just an amazing the energy and the power,
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Yeah, congrats on Student of the Week. And yeah, keep posting videos like that.
Yeah.
The clip she
kidding.
sent me was 9 minutes long, and it's
Wow.
all amazing.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I
Is
love
there
seeing
sti-
that.
Does she have a YouTube channel or something people
She
can check
does,
out?
yeah.
We should plug that.
Zine's in the
Put it-
chat, so if she wants to throw up what her YouTube
Yeah.
channel is, we can throw it out in the YouTube area
Yeah,
too.
and we'll put it in the description too. If you
Because
if you
absolutely,
Nice.
check
Yeah.
out Zine. All right, Groove of the Week. Krista, were you able to make that happen? Excellent. I love thumbs up. All right, everybody, we're going to do a quick Groove of the Week. You want to bring it up for me? All right, so this is actually one Brandon kept bugging me to do. So
of my
this
favorites.
is by Toto. It is called Mushanga. So before I play it, you got to just kind of get an idea of what the basic groove is. So you got kick drum on the floor, doing 1, 2, 3, 4, with a backbeat on 3. So what Jeff Beccaro does in this groove, this really, what you see on screen here is what he does a few times, but this part changes an awful lot through the track. But the essence of the idea is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So what he's doing on the toms, 1, 2, 4. Okay. So what he's doing there, it's super cool. He's just kind of like, how can I make a halftime groove work, make it feel a little bit more sort of tribal? And so he's adding this cool tom thing. The sticking's really crucial to make that work because you get 3 notes in a row on the first tom, and he moves it across the toms as he does it. But then he does the right hand 2, so you get that left hand back to the snare of 3. Right? And the really cool thing is by doing that, it gives him freedom to play around with the front end of that bar and the back end of that bar. So what we have here is kind of the fullest version of what he ends up doing. And if you look really closely at the sticking, it's right, left, then it's a right-hand paradiddle, then it's a reverse left-handed paradiddle, and then a pair of doubles. It's pretty cool how it just kind of works out that way. But 2 sets of hi-hats to get this cool sort of blended sound happening. So check it out. I'll play the whole thing for you, but just pay attention to how that tom, kick, and snare thing kind of tie it all together so the feel is really just boom, ba-duk, da-ba, boom, ba-duk, da-ba. Here we go. Super cool.
So, what? And I'm not being picky here, but I wasn't seeing you doing 3 hits on the high tom.
Or is it across the...
Would you like me to go slower? I can.
Yeah, actually.
in extra for fun there at the end for y'all.
And it's essentially, I guess, like you described it as a paradiddle mixed with some doubles, but it's kind of like a paradiddle, like 4 singles and then 2 paradiddle diddles.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, if you were asking, what's his name? Fred Armisen said he'd call that a parallelogram.
Yes.
Because it's really cool. And throughout that track, what's happening here keeps changing.
Yeah.
Right? This kind of stays the same, and he kind of just keeps messing with it. And that's kind of the more advanced version, if you will. I love that groove, though, just because it's like, how did he get to that from knowing that he had to play this? It's just those little details, taking something not that hard. Actually, kind of relates to what we did last week on the drum department with Thomas Lang, showing us what you can do with the paradiddle. Same thing here, right?
Yeah.
Though Thomas would have played something in 9 with his left foot.
Yes.
Wow, that man, I gotta say,
Monster.
That was just the nonstop.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Groove of the Week, everybody.
Nice.
Jared,
Yes.
we have a piece of gear I want to show off, and I'm gonna have you do it.
Okay.
It's that Boss DB90, which is the gray and yellow metronome to your left. Yep. So this.
You're giving this away?
Yep.
Really? They gave this to you to give away?
It's not what
this-
I said.
Is this sponsored by
Nope.
Boss?
Nope.
So they're sending
Sponsored
us a
by
check?
Drumeo. At this
Thank
point.
you, Drumeo.
Every now and then you got a bootstrap stuff. We picked something this week that was topical. So that in your hands is a Boss DB90 drummer's metronome. So that has, can you show them? It's pretty straightforward. The nice yellow sliders, you can add all the in-betweens, the subdivisions. All kinds of cool stuff, yeah. Oh yeah, of course, you got the triplets against the 16 notes.
Reminds me of the rhythm watch.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yes. I'm so glad.
everything
So-
I hate about that.
Oh, and it's durable, everybody.
Someone's gonna win this.
So this one, the reason I want to show this metronome off is because it is actually probably the most drummer friendly for learning and for gigging, because it's designed for all of those things. A lot of metronomes are either just designed for some of those functions, and others have some other ones. This one actually has a foot switch option for start-stop. It has multiple headphone inputs. It actually has, you can connect it to a practice, like a drum pad, electronic drum pad, and it'll actually read what you're playing. It has its own built-in coach features. It's got multiple voices. That one I was playing with, the 1, 2, that was in there. It's mountable on your drum kits, and it has MIDI control as well, which is really cool. And you're like, why? Because it's cool.
So,
You
so
know
what do
what?
you do with that? You make it change the sounds, or you...
A few things you could do with it. If you're at the drumming, if you're at the drumming kit where we play the drum set, you could use that. And when you press play, it can send a MIDI signal to another device, and it can, like if you're playing to tracks, it can actually set that up for you, which is really, really cool. There's only a couple of metronomes on the market in that sort of range. This is one. The other, of course, is the Tama RW200, which is the latest model. I remember when the RW100 came out, and then they did this big update, and it had a backlit screen. It was like, oh, I can finally see it in the sunlight. Thanks, guys. That's apparently a feature. And this one actually has a button for the light, which I thought was kind of funny. So this one's Streets. If you want to get yourself one, they sell in the US for about $160. So not dirt cheap, but I mean, it's the sort of thing you'll use for the rest of your life.
I still have mine somewhere.
Yeah, I have mine as well.
Yeah, the same one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one metronome I miss is I had a Yamaha click station, which was their version of this, if you will. I loved it, and I broke it over time, and they stopped making them.
You know what I use?
What do you use?
I go to Google and I type in metronome.
You know, it's funny you should say.
Seriously.
I'm actually
But
glad
Dave, the pitch is low and the sound is long.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
don't mind.
got to share a story about that quickly. So I got asked this week. One of our students was like, "Hey, Dave's doing this cool lesson on this thing. What's that awesome metronome he's using?" And I turned it on. I'm like, "I know exactly what that is." My response back was Google metronome. And they go, "No, which I know. I Google it. A million metronomes. No.
it's an actual-
The Google metronome.
The Google metronome.
They're like, "No way, that's what he's using." I'm like, "Yep."
yeah, that's
So
it. That's
onlinemetronome.com or whatever.
Yes, I remember
There
that.
still might be our branding
Probably.
up there. Because
right.
I have
Oh.
a partnership with them, because when you typed in metronome, I'm like, well, everyone's going to be typing in metronome. Let's put Drumeo there.
That's amazing.
That's brilliant. But that metronome only goes up by like 2 or 4 BPM.
yeah. It's,
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
the wheel.
It's like the wheel. Like you can't get 81. It's
Right.
only 80 or 84.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the wherever the Whitner metronome went, that one with the weight on it,
Yeah.
you can only do so many things because that's what they decided were the tempos you needed. You couldn't get to 126.
Right.
You could get to 120 and then 126. There's nothing in
Mozart had the monopoly on tempo.
between. He did. He did.
We're
Absolutely.
playing this in 120, and you guys all
Yeah,
shut
that's
up.
where it's at.
So the
And
only
if they ever,
tempo-
that was before the metronome though. So he's like, if they ever invent a machine though, we're screwed, everybody.
If Google ever makes their own, then we're done for. Okay, how are we giving this one away?
So we're gonna give that away to one of our members. So Jared, we should probably do something using math today. So.
Dave, you're gonna do another rap for us?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Give us,
come to the
give us one of
podcast.
your polyrhythmic pros, would you, Dave?
Who's gonna win this? I don't
Let's
know.
see. Oh, okay. This screen name has to win that.
So Rebel. Okay.
We're giving it away in the members area. So this is going to go to Quintriplet. Definitely someone who should own a metronome.
Quinn Triplet.
Quintriplet. Congratulations, Quintriplet. Please email me at krad@drumeo.com. We're going to send you that exact DB90, the one that Jared dropped just a second ago.
And if you listen closely, it has the Quinn Triplet subdivision.
I was just
in
going
it.
to say, yeah, there it is.
There it is. That's an Aaron Edgar metronome for
Yes.
you.
All right. And of course, every week we give away a year membership to Drumeo. You know what's included in that 1 year membership is you also have access to piano, singio, and guitario. But we should probably stay focused on drums, I'm thinking.
Yeah, 5,000 drumless songs.
5,000 drumless songs. And in case if you're out there saying, geez, I would like to know what all that has, like what that entails, I would strongly suggest you check out our 7-day free trial. Yep, that's going to come up on the screen any second now. And that, you can just go ahead and log in. You can get 7 days for free. There it is. See, look at that. Drumeo.com/trial. Sorry, I'm reading between a stand here. I think that's right. There you go. Okay, so we're going to give that away, Dave.
Okay, how am I doing this?
I need a number between 1 and 11.
11.
Oh, good call.
Count as many as you can.
It's going to go to Owen Campbell.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Nice.
Owen Campbell.
Congratulations, Owen.
You have won a 1 year membership, so you're going to have access to 5,000 drumless songs and the charts and tons of lessons and all kinds of exclusive content. And you get to win cool prizes if you watch the show here, blah, blah, blah. Email me at krad@drumeo.com at your earliest convenience, and we will get you hooked up with a year of Drumeo.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, Kyle, I'm impressed. This lesson was not as shit as I thought it would be.
The truth comes out.
Success.
The truth comes out.
Thanks. We finally got our soundbite, guys.
Nice.
That's going to be the new intro to the show. Right there.
The show was not as shit
And
as
viewership just went up.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
the numbers were spiking.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thanks.
And for those of you listening to this in the podcast, I hope you enjoyed some great metronomic moments. We'll see you all again next week. Take care.